we invite you to do so because, yes, we're now streaming live on YouTube, it says. If you want to join us in Facebook, in Zoom, you can do that. This way you get to see one another. Chloe, are we on Facebook as well at this point?
We are about to be, yes.
Oh, very good. And we are recording, yes? Good.
Good.
There we are. Good.
Let's see.
Interesting. So we'll be getting started in about 5 minutes officially. So there's Laura and Betty are about to come in from the waiting room. Everybody say, oh, did Laura, there's Laura. Everybody say hi to Laura. She's just arrived. Hey, Laura.
Hi, Laura.
Good to see you. Welcome. Hi, Betty. Good morning.
Morning.
Good to see you.
Let's see. I'm going to.
Hey, Angelique. Hi there. Good morning. This is awesome to see you. Hi, Lynette. Good to see you. This is so much more fun. And folks who are joining us via Facebook and YouTube, we love you. We're glad you're here, but no, you can come over, join us in the Zoom room. Here you can look at one another, and we will be having a time of saying good morning to each other in about 4 minutes. So feel free to join us over here.
Here's Blatchy. Say hi. Say hi.
I love it. See, that's the good thing about being on Zoom is we can attend worship with our animal friends. Hey, Kathy. Good morning. Good to see you.
You know, Tim, we should do a blessing for the animals before we go back to in person. So
Right.
all the bad animals get blessed too.
That's true. Oh, that's right, because Grayson will never make it into the sanctuary. We wouldn't do that to anybody.
At least not when there's other people there.
Right. Hi, Erica. Good to see you. Good morning. It's awesome to see you all.
I see a couple of new names here, new to me anyway, and I'm posting our connection card if you'd like to fill that out and keep up with what we're doing here. So feel free to do so.
And for folks who don't know who you are, Patty, this is time for a commercial.
My official title is Coordinator of Congregational Life, and it is my job and privilege to help people get connected to all that we do in our church. So please, I'll put in my email address too for anyone who is interested in asking me anything. I know it all.
There you go. Anything at all. What's the answer?
That's what we've always claimed. At least I always know who to ask anyway.
There you go. What number should we play in the lottery this week? Hey, Ken, good to see you. Hi, Patty. Hi, Darcy. Oh,
I have a question.
Patty has a question.
Yes, Patty asked for questions. My question is, how is your doggy doing?
My dog is doing great, and we still have to get together. We live just a few blocks apart, and we keep intending to introduce our dogs to each other and see how they get along. We'll have to give that a try.
Hello, Valerie and Steve. Good to see you. And never fear, Steve, Danny will be plugging our food collection near the end of the service. She's been rehearsing for hours to get it utterly perfect, right, Danny? No pressure. So folks, we're going to start up in about a minute, just giving a little more time for folks to join us. If you are watching us live stream on Facebook or YouTube, we celebrate you and invite you, if you wish, to join us in Zoom room where all kinds of mischief and mayhem take place. And for everybody who's in Zoom, I'm not sure if they can see us all, but let's just wave anyways. Everybody wave to YouTube, wave to Facebook, and wave to each other. And I think we are gonna kick things off. So officially, good morning to everybody. I can't tell you how utterly extraordinary and joyful it is to see your faces and see your smiles. You look so beautiful. And this is just a little taste of what for some of us it'll look like on May 30th when we begin gathering again in the sanctuary in person, masked and socially distanced, but we'll also be live streaming as well. So folks can join us either in person or in the safety and comfort of home as well. I'm Reverend Tim and serve as minister here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno, California. In Zoom, as we've said the last couple of weeks, things are a little bumpier than when we were pre-taped and edited. So we ask you to understand any miscues, any volume snafus that happen, and anything that will be imperfect. Our goal is not perfection. Our goal really is to create a connection community so that we are held in love. If you don't have a candle or a chalice, you might want to get that because Team Wise will be lighting the chalice this morning. And I can't think of anything more thrilling than to light the chalice along with awesome Team Wise. So everybody give a wave to Team Wise there. If you are new or newish to our church community, definitely fill out the visitor card that Patty will be periodically, look at that, Lisa went and got her chalice. That's so awesome. We'll be periodically placing in the comment box. And in a moment, all of us who are in Zoom are going to get sucked off into breakout rooms to say good morning to one another. What that means is there's a moment where your screen is going to go blank. And if you're like me the first time, you'll panic and think you've just been bumped out of the Zoom room. That is not the case. You're just being taken into a breakout room where you'll be able to say good morning to folks. And when you do get in your breakout room, if you could introduce yourself, because not everybody knows one another. And our question for checking in for about 3 minutes is, what is a favorite book or film that allowed you to enter into a world, an experience, or a life that's very different from your own? So what is a favorite book or film that allowed you to enter into a world experience or a life that is different from your own? And with that, I think we are gonna go off to breakout rooms, Chloe. So folks who are in Facebook and YouTube, we are in breakout rooms in Zoom. Folks are just taking a moment to say hello. Hi, Jody. And are just greeting each other in breakout rooms in Zoom. And they will be back in about 2 minutes or so. And then our official service will start with awesome Team Wise. So I would say just kind of hang out, chill, and folks will be back in about 2 minutes.
For some reason, we're host.
So just so everybody knows, that is the third time I have been booted. So I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi, but if for some reason I disappear when I'm supposed to be talking, that's why.
Okay. And everybody remember that anything we're saying right now is on YouTube and Facebook. And I know what Danny's vaguely talking about, so I'll sing songs from Man of La Mancha till you get back in. There you go. To dream the impossible dream. So if you're just joining us on Facebook or YouTube, hi. Our folks who are in Zoom are off in breakout rooms, just saying good morning and greeting one another. And they will be back probably in about a minute or so. And then Team Wise will kick us off officially. I can feel the power just emanating from their Zoom screen. You can feel it, just awesomeness, awesomeness, unparalleled awesomeness. I imagine, I know my sister's probably watching on Facebook right now. So shout out to John, congratulations, black belt in karate. I'm very proud of my nephew. That's really cool. Yay, John. Oh, hey, Lynn. Good to see you. Good morning. Folks are off in breakout rooms. They're going to be coming back in just a second, and then our service will kick off. So always wonderful to see you, Lynn. Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Oh my gosh, it's good to see your screen. Folks are in breakout rooms, but we'll be back momentarily, and our service will start. Louise is in the waiting room right now.
Breakout rooms are going to close in about 50 seconds, Tim.
Okay, so I'm going to mute myself, and next to speak will be the awesome Team Wise. Good morning, Louise. We're waiting for folks to come back from the breakout room, and then our service will start, but we're so glad you're here.
Buenos dias. Me llamo Carrie. Good morning, everyone. I'm Carrie, and this is my family. My husband, Mark, my daughter, Eliana, and my son, Nicholas. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. If you know anything about Unitarian Universalism, you know that we are different from most congregations in Fresno. Well, in the country, really. We offer a heartfelt welcome to everyone, whoever you are, wherever you are on your spiritual journey.
Lesbian, gay, trans, bi, non-binary, young, old, or in between, with or without documentation, con papeles y sin papeles. You are welcome here. We welcome every race, cultural origin, and religious background. We welcome you no matter your level of education or how much you have in your bank account. Todos son bienvenidos aquí. It has been a while since we've shared together our church covenant, which centers love as the core of our Unitarian Universalist faith.
Please join with me in sharing the words of our church covenant. El amor es la doctrina de esta iglesia, la búsqueda de la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es su oración. Habitar juntos en paz, buscar la verdad con libertad y servir a la humanidad juntos, con el fin de que todas las almas puedan crecer en armonía con lo divino. Esto es lo que pactamos unos con otros.
We affirm that love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. We strive to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end, that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other.
If we were meeting in person right now, it would be the time in our service where we would greet each other, say hello, shake hands, or give a hug. But today, if you're watching with someone in the room, do that. Say hello, give them a hug. If you are watching alone, know that you are not alone, that we are connected right now in a spiritual sanctuary of love and caring. So give a wave to your screen and know that we are all waving back to greet you. Now here's Tim to begin our service.
Thank you so much. Awesome, Team Wise. And again, it is just so wonderful to see your faces this morning, your smiling faces. There are sounds in the universe, sounds that open us up to the love, the blessing, and the bounty that is all around us. There are also sounds we know that shut us down, that cause us to close off from each other and the world. The sound of the tingsha is one of those sounds that invites us to open to the mystery within us, among us, and beyond us.
Good morning. Our chalice lighting words are written by Unitarian Universalist Erica Hewitt.
The word courage comes from the Latin word cor, which means heart. According to poet Mark Nepo, the original use of the word courage meant to stand by one's core, a striking concept that reinforces the belief found in almost all traditions that living from the center is what enables us to face whatever life has to offer.
To encourage means to hearten, to impart strength and confidence. This is our work as a religious community, to encourage one another, to be bold in engaging the world around us, as well as what scares us internally, to give one another the confidence and heart to live as fully as possible.
With full hearts, we affirm our relationships with one another. We recognize our collective power, and we accept our responsibility to be bold and courageous. We light this chalice, symbol of all that we are, all that we have done together, and all that we will be as our shared ministry encourages those within and beyond our walls.
I hope you will join us in lighting a chalice or candle of your own this morning. Let's now join our voices in our song of praise. Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all.
Wake now my senses and hear the earth call. Feel the deep power of being in all. Keep with the web of creation your vow, giving, receiving as love shows us how. Wake now compassion, give heed to the cry. Voices of suffering fill the wide sky. Take as your neighbor both stranger and friend, praying and striving their hardship to end. Wake now my conscience, with justice thy guide. Join with all people whose rights are denied. Take not for granted a privileged place. God's love embraces the whole human race. Wake now my vision of ministry clear. Brighten my pathway with radiance here. Mingle my calling with all who will share. Work toward our planet, transformed by our care.
Good morning. My name is Chloe, and I am the communications coordinator here at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno. My friend Danny, our interim director of lifelong learning, is having a bit of a technical issue today. And this is me filling the time so she can attempt to fix her microphone.
So one thing that Danny has, and I know once she's able to unmute herself, is something called a wonder box. It's not a magic box, but it's a box that usually has something in it that is causes us to wonder and to think about. There it is. So are we gonna try to unmute, or are we gonna sort of let you show and I kind of fill in? Is that what we're gonna do?
Hey,
okay.
I got unmuted.
Yay!
See, the wonder box is so filled with mystery, sometimes we don't even have the voice to express it. So today, our wonder box is so big that it wouldn't actually fit into a box. So it's a wonder blanket. So after all of that buildup, I'm sure you guys are ready for the reveal of the wonder box. Is everybody ready? Yeah, I see some nods. Okay, here we go. Starting to peel it off. Oh, we can see the top part of it. Any guesses in the chat what it might be? We've got some pretty wood topping here. And as I pull it out, oh, would you look at that? It's a painting. Yeah, it is a frame. So it's a painting. I wonder what it could be a painting of. So there's some beautiful sky here. There's windmills. I don't know if you can see it, but there's two little people down here. One of them seems to be dressed like a knight. One of them is on kind of a smaller four-legged creature. Maybe it's a mule, maybe it's a horse. There are so many different things in this painting to wonder about. You know, I wonder if this painting might actually be about a story. It reminds me of a story I was reading about recently, and it was the story of Don Quixote, which is actually the #1 selling story of like all time. It even outsold Harry Potter, which was just shocking to me. The story of Don Quixote is really interesting. It's kind of like this painting because there are different ways you can look at it. I'm going to put this painting down. See, paintings are open to all sorts of interpretations, and stories are too. Take the Don Quixote painting, for instance. We were looking at that, and I thought maybe it's a picture of windmills, maybe it's a picture of a hero's journey. Well, Don Quixote is kind of like that too. When I was little and I first heard the story, I was like, oh, it's the story of this guy who's going on this big adventure. It's a big hero's journey. And then when I was older and I was a teenager and I was a little bit more cynical and a little bit sarcastic, I was like, oh, it's a story about this really delusional guy who doesn't know what he's doing and he thinks windmills are dragons and he wants to go fight a windmill. And then when I was older and I went back to look at it again, I was like, what an amazing piece of work that talks about privilege and how when you have a little bit of privilege, you can get away with a lot more than those around you, and you end up being a burden on other people. See, the story transformed as I transformed. And the amazing thing about stories that makes me just be in awe of them is that stories can change as we change, but stories change us. So stories can change as we are changing, and then that makes the story itself change. Stories are this cycle of evolution and thought and the way that we develop, just like paintings are. That's what really great art does. And that's what story does, is it teaches us to empathize and grow and discover what our own stories are. So now that we're through talking about this story, let's listen to the song, Write Your Story.
Make sure
is so amazingly Unitarian Universalist. The idea that our story wasn't already written before we were born, which some religions teach. They teach that there was something called predestination, that somehow we are fallen, sinful creatures that need to be saved by some higher power that we are not even worthy to receive. And Unitarian Universalism came along and said, no, your story is yours. No God has already figured out for you what's going to happen. No God has already figured out for you what you need to do in order to have worth and meaning in your life. Unitarian Universalism teaches that we are given an open blank book, and then we are invited to create our lives, not from a place of fear or obedience, but from a place of joy and celebration. And so in that joy and with that celebration, I invite us together to take a breath in, breathing in peace, pas. We hold the moment and we breathe out love. And again, breathing in peace, we hold the moment, we breathe out love. And one more time together, breathing in peace, we hold, we breathe out love. One of the things we're doing today is exploring the power of imagination and how with imagination we create stories, the stories of our lives and also the stories of other people's lives. And in my imagination, if there is a God, I like to think of her breathing in peace and breathing out love. Breathing in peace, breathing out love. And so as we breathe, we allow our breath to carry us back for a moment, back over the last week, the last 7 days of our living. And 2 questions for brief reflection emerge. The first, where in the last week did you experience brokenness? Where in the last week did you experience brokenness? Just name and claim that in the silence of your heart. And a second question, creating balance, the balance that Taoism talks about is in its theology. Where in the last week did you experience beauty? Where in the last week did you experience beauty? And so amidst the brokenness and the beauty that is our world, we breathe ourselves into a time of sharing. This is that sacred time in our service where if we're so moved, we share with one another the joys, the concerns, the sorrows, and the gratitudes of our lives. Each one of us came into this sacred space full of experience, full of feelings, thoughts. If there's something you would like to share with each other here in beloved community, I invite you in the chat box to just type your personal joy, concern, sorrow, or gratitude. If you're talking about someone else, we ask you to not use their full last name just to protect their privacy. And as we move into this time, we want to lift up first in celebration and acknowledgement. This was Lesbian Visibility Week through the 26th of April through today. And so we lift up our lesbian community, both here at the church and in Fresno and beyond. And even as we celebrate, we also grieve. For yet again, an unarmed Black person was murdered by law enforcement, the same law enforcement that has sworn to protect and defend, has taken another life. We lift up the life, the name of Andrew Brown Jr. And again, lift up the fact that something is so broken within our law enforcement system, and something must change. And I hope that we as Unitarian Universalists continue to speak out demanding that change. And if you'd like to honor the life of Andrew Brown Jr., I ask you to type ABJ in the comment box, ABJ for Andrew Brown Jr. We also have another collective grief as we look at the tragedy that is unfolding in India with what is occurring because of the rampant pandemic. And so our hearts go out to those facing so much challenge this week, especially to Unitarian Universalists in India, many of whom live in the Khasi Hills. And our Unitarian Universalist community in India is also being ravaged and impacted. So let us hold our fellow Unitarian Universalists in our hearts, in our prayers, and in our thoughts. Also in our hearts and thoughts today are our beloveds, Glenda R., Nellie Ann R., Pat M., Bev H., Robin G., Al G., and I see Al's with us this morning. Let's all give Al a wave. Bill N., and Sam Z. Hi, Sam. I see Sam as well. So everybody give Sam a wave and know we're holding you in so much love and light. And so for all that has been shared, for everything that we hold in the sacred silence of our own hearts, and for all those who on this day have no one to remember them, no one to speak their name aloud with love and tenderness, we light our candle of community by our remembering, may we and they be blessed. We light a second candle. This candle burns for the over 3.18 million citizens of the world who have lost their lives in this pandemic. This morning, we light a third candle, as is our custom. On the first anniversary of the death of a beloved church member, we light a candle of remembrance and celebration of that life. And so today, we lift up the name, the life, and the legacy of Gray Hughes. Gray was a person so content and grateful with his life, his long marriage with Jerry, his extended family, a career that he was so proud of. Gray, when his time came to pass into the mysteries of death, did so with gratitude in his heart for his life well lived. And we honor Gray. And so, as our candles burn, we join in our call to meditation. Cuando respiro, respiro paz.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Cuando respiro, respiro paz. Cuando exhalo, exhalo amor. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Cuando respiro, respiro paz. Cuando exhalo, exhalo amor. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Cuando respiro, respiro paz. Cuando exhalo, exhalo amor.
Will you join with me in the spirit of mindfulness, reflection, and prayer? Our words come from the heart and soul of Unitarian Universalist Orlando Brugnola. She is a proud, multiracial person of Chinese descent who has strong Confucian values that permeate her Unitarian Universalism, and you will hear that in these words by Orlando Brugnola. Let us pray. Spirit of life, fuente de amor. As we move through life, finding ourselves always newly wise and newly foolish, we ask that our mistakes be small and not hurtful. We ask that as we gain experience, we do not forget our innocence, for they are both part of the whole. May it be so. Blessed be. Amen. We truly write our stories with our heart. And so we sing in one of our favorite hymns, "When Your Heart is in a Holy Place," these lyrics that speak profound truth about us as a beloved spiritual community. When we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. Let's sing together.
are blessed with love and amazing grace when our heart is in a holy place. When we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see the faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
The great Black scholar and social justice advocate W.E.B. Du Bois once wrote, "Beyond the veil lies an undiscovered country, a land of new things, of change, of experiment, of wild hope and somber realization, of superlatives and italics, of wondrously blended poetry and prose." Today, we continue our exploration of the art of literary creation with our special guest speaker, Venita Blackburn. She is going to invite us into the creative process of short stories, where she invites us to consider our imagination as an entryway into the world of the other. And by entering that word, touching and renewing our ability to feel compassion and spiritual empathy. Venita Blackburn is assistant professor of creative writing at California State University, Fresno. Works by Venita have appeared or are forthcoming in Plowshares, McSweeney's, The Parish Review, and others. Venita received the Prairie Schooner Book Prize in Fiction for her collected stories, Black Jesus and Other Superheroes. She received that award in 2017. She is founder of the literary nonprofit Live Right, which provides free creative writing workshops for communities of color. As we prepare to listen to Venita, I'm going to encourage you to probably need to turn your volume up because there was just a little bit of a sound issue, and her voice is going to be a little lower in volume than the rest of the services. So if you're straining to hear, just turn up your volume. And with that, it is my great pleasure to invite us all to enter into the literary creative process of Venita Blackburn.
Hello. First, I want to thank the Unitarian Universalist Church of Fresno for inviting me to speak. So I am Venita Blackburn, a professor and author of fiction, and I think it's really cool that artists are able to speak and sort of share our way of interacting with the world and interpreting the human experience through certain mediums. And mine is, storytelling. So I'm primarily a short story writer. I am working on a novel because they make us, but I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun with the voice of the book that I'm writing. But I do short stories. So I have two collections. that exists, Black Jesus and other superheroes, as well as the new one that's coming out in September. It's called How to Wrestle a Girl. And they are both sort of about young people, girls, dysfunctional motherhood, athleticism, faith, sexuality, and all sorts of different kind of characters going through some sort of irreverent crisis, or crisis with an irreverent perspective on it. So there are thematic threads, but I try to approach a variety of the kinds of people that interest me. And there is this philosophy in writing that we should only write what we know. We've heard that phrase. Don't deviate from your own experiences, because that's what you have authority over as an author. So I don't subscribe to that particular perspective, but I do have conditions, if for one that wants to be more experimental, that wants to deviate from the expected. And that's when we have to sort of consider our place when writing the other, when considering otherness in fiction, but also in our lives, because this is something we're always going to encounter, people that are different from us for a variety of circumstances. Any sort of demographic, categorization that you can pick, they exist. And the goal is not to just sort of find that one, thread of similarity and hold on to it. That's part of it. But it's also to practice empathy, to really kind of think about how it feels, what the world is like, the total experience from that frame of reference from someone else, to surrender the self completely and sort of yield to that different lens. That is a really challenging exercise for writers and for anyone. I think we're always in a state of trying to do that, especially when we're people that want harmony. And most people want harmony. The whole goal is to avoid suffering in this world, to try to be as at peace as possible while still being entertained, right? But I think we tend to make our entertainment a little bit too real, a little bit too, I tell my students, you need conflict in your books, but you don't want conflict in your life. But that's not how it works. So, we're in this state of this kind of renaissance happening with art, with expression, with trying to sort of figure out the arbitrary limitations that we put on each other and then dismantle them and sort of see what is possible if we don't apply all kinds of rules of archaic thinking around gender, around race, around culture. All of these are being challenged in the artist realm right now, and it's really wonderful. Our politics, however, might be getting a little bit more rigid, but that's a different kind of thing. So the other situation with otherness, with writing about perspectives that are not your own, thinking about people that are not you and are not part of your immediate community, what does one do? So a lot of it has to do with research, with not being lazy, with sort of daring to explore and learn about the ways that people speak, the sentence structure, the dialogue, and also the histories of the other, and seeing what your access point is. Now, if you feel comfortable enough that you can mimic the speech, you really feel like you can draw from all sorts of historical contexts in order to shape the past, the present, and the future of a character, then you might be able to do something in like the first person, where you embody that voice and you can sort of speak from them. Most folks can't, and it can be a little challenging. So you want to be a little further away, right? You might want to be a character that is on the side, that is just a witness, and you're sort of reporting back in kind of a third person perspective that has a comfortable kind of distance that feels more like a reasonable, convincing place of authority. So there are a lot of choices that have to be made on a technical level within fiction for presenting the other. Now, I'm going to read a couple of stories that I've done. Now, whether or not I got them right, That's the other question. So when investigating, when exploring otherness on the page as an artist, there is always the risk that you will get it wrong, that mistakes will be made. And that is part of the experiment of this life, is to dare to error, right? So, and that's healthy. And that is healthy. So I'm going to read one and then talk about it. It's actually based on a true story. And it might be familiar to some people, but I'm going to read this one. It's called Chew. And then we'll talk about it, or I'll talk about it. We chew in our family. It's our God-given freedom to chew what and when we want. I chewed the legs off my grandmother's piano. It keeled over and crushed her 13-year-old Bichon Frise, ginger snap. My granddaddy laughed his ass off. Me and my brothers used to chew shapes into things all the time. We turned straws into palm trees. I made a lily out of a milk carton for my brother's girlfriend. I had to be careful around the seams and not use too much saliva, or it would have turned to oatmeal. He busted my lip for that one. My boy is just like us. Can't keep his teeth off things. He chewed a plastic coin into a funny shape and supposedly threw it at some girl. They suspended him for 2 days for a plastic coin. I had to sit in front of the superintendent with his blood-red hangnails while he read off a statement from a teacher. Because of the zero-tolerance policy, suspension was warranted after the disruption caused by the object. The student chewed a coin made of plastic until it resembled a bullet and threw it, yada, yada, while yelling bang, bang, blah, blah, repeatedly until the situation escalated, or some garbage. I had to sit there for 39 minutes looking at that from of a desk. It was metal and the color of every dull memory I ever had, just covered in papers, papers, papers. He held his palms above the papers and patted the air as if disgusted, as if afraid to touch anything because he knew it all linked to him somehow. One wrong move would topple it, and he'd be late for some god-awful appointment or something. I told him to just let's get down to it. He sighed like he'd heard the story a few too many times, from the teacher, from the principal, from that big-haired news anchor, and his own bosses probably. Still, he needed to hear the story right from my boy. So that's what happened. My boy told the truth of it. I told my boy to be out with it, and he stayed quiet because kids don't know what to say without a question. What happened? I asked. I chewed a shape the teacher thought was bad. She made me go to the principal, then she brought all my stuff and called you, Dad, to come get me. That's what he said. The superintendent dared to look at me like I coached him, like my boy is so just acutely aware of my breathing and knew every inhale and internal body gurgle and could tell the good from the bad. How was he supposed to know what gesture meant certain doom and which meant good job, son? But he said it right anyhow. I never threw it at no one. My boy told me about that crooked-eared girl who teased him all the time about his dirty cuffs. I told him never wash your cuffs for a girl. If she can't love your grease and grit, she can't love you. Well, he washed his damn cuffs and got more teasing for the trouble. That's when he shoot that shape into a coin and supposedly threw it. I knew he wasn't trying to make a bullet and pretend to kill that girl. That's crazy. I told him to tell that pudgy superintendent what he was really trying to chew into that big money. I was trying to make a rocket. I chew rocket ships, and I like guns and tanks, and I was just trying to draw a rocket, and it turned out to look more like a small bullet than a rocket. And the teacher just thought it was a bullet. The teacher just thought it was a bullet. Boys that age chew all kinds of things. I must have chewed out of a cereal box 100 times before I knew what it was for. Boys just celebrate themselves, you know. It's human. But the superintendent didn't get it. He just sat there on his secretary's wide wood chair thinking, your boy is an unholy wretch that will grow up to hurt people. The world is going to have to kill him someday. He'll embarrass you and drive you indoors for good. You are an enabler. You think you're helping, but you're reinforcing terrible behavior. There are volumes of books, studies done, talk shows even about you and your boy. There will be nowhere safe to drive except hills with no life on them. The superintendent blinked. He looked at my boy and blinked. He looked at me and blinked. He looked at the stacks of pink and yellow papers folded and crinkled some thin as spit and blinked. What right did he or anybody have to judge me and mine? They call it enabling. I'm enabling my son to keep on with his bad behavior. They just don't understand our lives. Maybe he did chew a bullet on purpose and throw it and push her down and kick her until she cried. We all chew to survive in this world. My granddaddy chewed up until his last days on this earth, a little foil applesauce lid. He made a teacup for my grandmother. I heard she told him to swallow it for being such a mean bastard all his life, but that's just how they loved each other. Everybody else can't know what it's like to put something in your mouth and have something different come out, what it means, the power. They just want to take it from us, keep us docile like starved dogs. They don't know anything about how we live, love, and die. My boy is innocent. My boy is gifted. All right, so like I said, I don't know if I got that one right. So I was trying to embody a very, very different perspective. Like, I'm not a parent, so I was trying to do a father. I don't identify as a man, so I was trying to do a male. And I also wanted to capture this very sort of American, sort of white male perspective as well. There's a little bit of that, which I don't know if anyone got. So I was trying to do all of these different things in the voice. And I felt like I could try to do that first person because I've heard it, I've lived here, I've sort of experienced that narrative, that sort of mental state in different things. And I got the idea for the story from the newspaper, actually. So that really did happen. There was this kid that was suspended in the South, I forget which state, but it was because he chewed like a pastry into a gun and was terrorizing his classmates, which is, and that's the thing, right? These small acts that seem to be sort of links into a larger chain of destruction, of destructive behaviors. And early on, it's sort of like, we've all seen this. It is innocent, right? Unless we start to keep, tilting it and turning it and looking at it. So a different perspective, of course, would see this as sort of the early stages of toxic masculinity, right? So I was trying to explore sort of but also, when does it look like love? When does hate look like love? When is it about nurturing? When is it about something sacred and honor? And even though from my own perspective, from far away, as a woman, as someone as not a father, as someone that's just sort of trying to keep suffering from happening, trying to embrace some kind of harmony, that perspective of violence, in a child does not look like love to me. So I really had to sort of embrace that sort of empathy and say, well, let me go closer. Let me see how it starts. Let me investigate. And I think philosophically, it really is a healthy exercise for us all. I want to read one more. And I think I'm doing okay on time. Let me check. Yes. So this next one is very different. So, and it's much newer. So that other one was written many, many years ago. Not many, I don't know, 8. It's not that old. But this one is very new, maybe 1 or 2 years old. So it's called Smoothies, and it's in my latest collection. And this one is more about, or is less about children, or how does an adult relate to a child, but sort of how do children relate to each other in their own sort of assigned roles and things like that. So Smoothies. So we'll talk in a second after this one. Smoothies. The first time a guy said I look like a man was at the Jamba Juice stand in the mall. He was still a boy, probably my age and sticky from adolescence. You look like a man. He said it as if he had the right to say anything to me, as if it was important for his survival, an echo of his ancestors who were my ancestors, long and black and muscled, though we were two strangers holding smoothies. His phone was 3 generations older than mine. I had superior sneakers, a designer sweatshirt, better moisturizer, and even my drink held more protein and complexity, but he wielded his right to possess them all in one note of disgust. I took a sip as a man in a suit too tall to have a head in my sight line jingled the change in his pocket. You look like a man. It took a few seconds before I knew it wasn't a compliment, that it was a lesson, an exchange, that he was learning too how to be a man by not being a girl. In Sunday school, we were learning about the first man and first woman and how Adam must have been closer to God because God made him first. And pretty much all the problems of all time after came about because of Eve and a snack. I chewed a hunk of ice that hadn't broken down properly, and a woman hit the headless man in a suit in the heel with her stroller. The boy could have said the words like he'd say hello, or nice to meet you, or where did you get that watch, or what a wonderful day it is to be upright and breathing here together. But he said them in a different way. The way we tell strangers your shoes are untied, or you have toilet paper on your hands. He saw himself in me and felt ashamed. He saw himself in me and felt proud, but pride wasn't supposed to live inside of women, so he had to walk it back and cut its throat till the blood ringed around my neck. You look like a man. Years later, it would become, you eat like a man, you walk like a man, you sound like a man. My chromosomes had not yet been tested. My birth certificate says female, live birth, 7 pounds and 3 ounces. I didn't think I wanted to be loved by boys until that boy told me it was not possible. I don't remember what I looked like then a few years ago, but I remember him, his dirty chucks, ashy corners of his mouth and dry scalp. Back then I stared deeply at people the way children do, still curious. He existed. I didn't expect him to look back though. Children are rarely seen, but I wasn't a child anymore and had not fully realized that. Now strangers could assert their judgments on my whole body, my whole story without permission. You look like a man. I was 3 sips into the smoothie before it hit. To be a woman seemed a terrible thing to have happened, and it happened at 3:54 on a Friday when I was 14 to the sound of a blender jolted to life. Women have to be small, give birth, wear makeup. I could see all the women, the court reporters, the accountants, psychics and secretaries, biologists and senators, important but nameless, with inconvenient hairstyles and morning routines. Men got to invent women over and over, one generation after another by the grace of God. The woman's stroller spit out a toy from what must have been a child tucked inside. The mother cooed, then retrieved the toy and fed it back to the stroller. The mall was not a place to fall apart. It happened anyway. When I get hurt, usually the universe opens up a little, like a bullet through a watermelon. Things separate and scatter. It feels like this is how we really are all the time, and everything else is just pretend. We pretend to have legs and skin and milk ducts. We pretend to have legs and skin and milk ducts. We pretend some skin looks one way while other skin is different. We pretend to have green eyes and brown eyes and yellow teeth and gray teeth, and the sky is blue to us in the day and black at night. We pretend lots of things that are only sort of true when we are the sky and time and memory and the center of the earth and destiny and gods and gravity and salted oceans and children of the gods who ate their mothers and birthed the constellations and nebulas, and death are a myth because everything goes into itself to begin again. There was fear and doubt on the boy's face when I finally turned away. The condemnation dissolved. I, a girl, would grow to be a better man than he and still be a woman. The sugar pooled like acid on my tongue when the feeling passed. All the other customers departed, and it was just us under the fluorescent lights together again. There seemed nothing left to prove, and a whole new point was born between us that we had not yet named. Okay, that's smoothies. Now that was me really thinking about gender and identity and the body. So my latest collection is a lot about the body and the perceptions and reconstructions and reinventions of the self through the naming of ourselves through the body. And I don't identify as anything but a woman, but I wanted to sort of embrace that fluid perspective, and also the idea that we are in flux. Our perspectives are always changing. Our language is always changing. And I'm very much a wordsmith. So I'm always invested in the living nature of speech. And I think it's really just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It's very organic, and it's always growing. It's always alive. And I want to sort of see how I can connect that to the macro, the macro universe, and the micro physical self of one person, and explore that. And there is nothing more other, I guess, than the universe as a whole. And I wanted to sort of think about that and meditate on that for that story and see how we all fit into that towards the end. And like I said, you can run the risk of getting it wrong, but sometimes it just feels pretty right. So I do like those two stories as a representation of how I embrace otherness and empathy and the connections between every kind of human and the respect of the sacred differences between every kind of human. And I think that is pretty much it for me. So hopefully you guys got something out of that. I don't know. It's just how I think. Yeah. And thank you again for inviting me.
Don't tell me you don't know what love is when you're old enough to know better. When you find strange hands in your sweater. When your dreamboat turns out to be a footnote. I'm a man with a mission in 2 or 3 editions, and I'm giving you a longing look. Every day, every day, every day, every day I write the book. Chapter 1, we didn't really get along. Chapter 2, I think I fell in love with you. You said you'd stand by me in the middle of chapter 3, but you were up to your own tricks in chapters 4, 5, and 6. And I'm giving you a longing look. Every day, every day, every day, every day I write the book. The way you are, the way you talk and try to kiss me and laugh and full fires paragraphs. All your compliments and your cutting remarks are captured here in my quotation marks. And I'm giving you a longing look. Every day, every day, every day, every day I write the book. Every day I write the book. Don't tell me you don't know the difference between a lover and a fighter. With my pen and my electric typewriter. Even in a perfect world where everyone was equal, I'd still own the film rights and be working on the sequel. And I'm giving you a long look. Every day, every day, every day, every day I write the book. Every day, every day, every day, every day I write the book. Every day, every day, every day, every day, every day I write the book. Every day, every day, every day, every day, every day I write the book. Every day, every day, every day, every day, every day I write the book.
Hello, I'm Nicholas, and I'm a member of Team Wise. I choose to financially support the church because of the amazing community of people I have met over the many years I have been here. The wonderful nonprofits like the Wings Advocacy of Fresno I have been introduced to, and to all the fun times I've had here with all of you. For all of those pledging members who have been making additional contributions each week, I thank you. The Board of Trustees thanks you, and Reverend Tim thanks you. For those who haven't yet made a special contribution, I ask you to make this the morning you do so for the very first time. There are several ways you can make your offering, including Cash App, PayPal, credit card, or by text. A slide will appear with all the information in just a moment. But first, In the spirit of grateful generosity, will you join me in saying the words of our offering? If not us, then who? If not open hearts, then what? If not now, then when? If not here, then where? If not generously, then how? If not us, then who? Thank you in advance for saying yes. May this church continue to be worthy of the many forms of your gifts.
Howdy, friends. I'm Danny, and I'm back. And you may be wondering why, as the interim director of lifelong learning, I have opted for a bit of a more casual outfit for a Sunday service. Well, the picnic basket and Charlie's hat might give you a hint, and that's because today is our annual church picnic and Messy Games Day. I'm ready and I'm raring to go for all the fun that we're going to have. We're going to have some snowball fights. We're going to have a slip and slide that's sanitized. We're going to have some water balloon elimination volleyball and just a really good time. So a couple of other reminders for you. Please make sure that you stick around after the service for a very special Q&A with today's awesome speaker and author, Venita Blackburn. Next Sunday is our annual flower communion. So make sure you bring a flower to share in our Zoom room. And last but not least, don't forget that we partner with Wesley United Methodist Church Food Pantry and Valley Children's Hospital for their food distribution to families who are food insecure. You can check out the order of service for the list of approved donation items and for drop-up times and pickup. Now, let's go back and visit the Wise household for one more time.
It has been our pleasure to be with our UU family this morning. We are glad that you are here. We can't wait to see everyone soon when we begin our multi-platform service live in the sanctuary and live streamed online beginning May 30th. As we prepare to end our service and enter into the afternoon, please join us in our chalice extinguishing words.
We extinguish this flame,
but
not the light of truth,
the
warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts. Extinguimos esta llama, pero no la luz de la verdad, el calor de comunidad, o el fuego de nuestro compromiso. Estos los llevaremos en el corazón.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We hope to see you all next week.
Thank you, Team Wise. Yay! You folks have just been amazing worship leaders through this whole time of pandemic. So everybody give a shout out to Team Wise. Awesome, awesome. And folks, I see here in the Zoom room is Venita. So she'll be joining us for question and answer. Everybody wave to Venita. I'm so excited to talk. If you have questions you want to ask her, get ready for those. And I've got a whole bunch as well. And I was noticing in the chat, there was such appreciation for the imagery and the evocativeness of your writing, Venita. So it's going to be a thrill to talk with you in just a few moments. But first, we have closing words and then our sung benediction. So I invite us to take our precious human hands, place them over our human hearts, remembering that within us is both brokenness, beauty, and wholeness. Go now in peace. May you leave this place knowing you are good and knowing you are loved. Take your love, share it with the world. Stay safe until we meet again. And may the longtime sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light that is within you guide your way on. Blessed be. Amen.
Go from here in peace, go with love. Go from here in peace, go with love. Go from here in peace, go with love. In love, go in peace. Shalom and assalamu alaikum.
May it be so. And so our service today has come to an end. We invite